Have you ever been called lazy even though your mind never stops working? Have you ever planned something so many times in your head that by the time you need to act, you already feel exhausted? What if the problem was never motivation? What if the effort already happened? It just was not visible. This is not about laziness. This is about a pattern where mental effort is invisible and physical inaction is all anyone sees. It feels like running a marathon inside your head while your body sits completely still. And then being told you did nothing. For people with ADHD, this happens constantly. The brain does not regulate effort the same way. It front-loads energy into planning, anticipating, worrying, rehearsing. And by the time the task arrives, there is nothing left. But from the outside, it looks like you just did not try. Here is what most people do not understand. Paralysis is not the same as avoidance. Avoidance is when you do not want to do something, so you do something else instead. You distract yourself. You choose a different path. Paralysis is when you desperately want to move and you cannot. You are not distracted. You are frozen. And the harder you try to force movement, the more locked you become. This is what executive dysfunction actually does. It disconnects wanting from doing, intention from action, and no amount of willpower bridges that gap because willpower is not the problem. The problem is a system that equates effort with output, that only recognizes work if it produces visible results. Mental work is invisible. Planning is invisible. Processing is invisible. The cognitive load of holding a task in your mind while your brain runs through every possible obstacle is invisible. And because it is invisible, it does not count. So when someone with ADHD sits still for hours, paralyzed by a task they desperately want to complete, what people see is inaction. What they do not see is the mental marathon happening beneath the surface. They do not see the decision fatigue, the fear of starting wrong, the overwhelm of not knowing which step comes first, the brain trying to compute too many variables at once and crashing under the weight of its own processing. They just see someone who is not moving, and they call it lazy. But laziness implies choice. Laziness implies you could move if you wanted to, but you chose comfort instead. Paralysis is the opposite. You want to move. You are trying to move, but the system will not let you. And the worst part is not the paralysis itself, it is the shame that comes after. Because when you finally do move, when the paralysis breaks and you complete the task, you look back and think, if I could do it now, why could I not do it earlier? What is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. The system was overloaded, and now it is not. That is the only difference. But because we do not have language for this, people internalize the paralysis as personal failure. They grow up hearing you are so smart. Why can you not just apply yourself? If you cared, you would make it happen. And they believe it. Because what else are they supposed to believe when no one explains that their brain regulates effort differently? So they try harder. They push through the paralysis. They force themselves to move even when every part of their system is screaming stop. And sometimes it works. Until it does not. Until the system crashes completely. And then they are told they are giving up. Not trying hard enough. But they are not quitting. They are protecting themselves from a system that demands more than they can give. Because effort is not infinite. Energy is not unlimited. And some brains spend so much energy on internal regulation that external action becomes nearly impossible. That is not laziness. That is biology. So what do you do with this information? You could build external systems. Break tasks into smaller pieces. Use timers and accountability. For some people that helps. You could accept it. Recognize that your brain works differently and stop judging yourself for needing more time. More clarity, more external structure. You could change your environment. Find work that does not require constant initiation. Find people who understand that stillness is not the same as refusal. Or all three, or none. There is no right answer. What matters is this. If you have spent your life being told you are lazy, unmotivated, undisciplined, and none of those words ever felt true, maybe they were not. Maybe you were working harder than anyone realized, just not in ways they could see. Maybe the effort was always there. It just was not visible. And maybe the question is not why can you not just do it, Maybe the question is, why does effort only count when it looks like action? Because thinking is effort, planning is effort. Holding a task in your mind while your brain cycles through every possible outcome is effort. And if we keep pretending it is not, we will keep calling paralysis laziness. We will keep blaming people for something they cannot control. The real problem is not that some people do not try hard enough. It is that some people are trying in ways we have never learned to recognize, and recognition is not a solution. But it is a start. Because once you know that what you are experiencing has a name, that it is a pattern, that it is not a moral failing, something shifts. You stop asking what is wrong with me, and you start asking what do I need to work with how my brain actually functions instead of against it. You were never lazy, you were never broken. You were never failing at being human. You were just operating with a system that regulates effort differently, and being measured by people who only recognized one type of effort as valid. Now you know. And knowing does not fix everything. But it does something just as important. It removes the shame. And when shame leaves, movement becomes possible again. Not because you suddenly have more willpower, but because you finally stop fighting yourself long enough to figure out what you actually need. And maybe that is enough.